Okay, one other thing that I forgot to mention in the last video about scheduling is how you can create a block in your schedule for any number of reasons, whether you need time for notes, whether you are holding that spot for somebody who you just spoke with on the phone but they don't have a case yet, or you just are going to be leaving earlier than you anticipated that day, just don't have availability, anything you need to do. I'm going to do this a little bit quickly in terms of once I go from block time so that I don't end up inadvertently having it want to pre-populate some names for me. So if I want to block the time, I come down here, I right click on the schedule, go to block time. Okay. And so once I click on notes, there we go. There, then it didn't inadvertently call anybody's names up. So you have your time, you can set your time here. If you're gonna have to be out all day and you wanna set a block there, just click it as all day. For this, let's just say from 9 to 10 a.m. I wanna have time to do my notes that I didn't catch up on. You can drag this, you can expand it if you decided you needed more time. If you wanna change the name of that, come in here, click on that description, and you can just change it from there. Okay, so, excuse me. The next thing to learn is how to create a note, or how to write your evaluative notes or daily notes. Let's start off, to keep it simple, with learning how to write your daily note. You can take a look at the flow sheet, and then we'll backtrack and look at how to write an evaluative note. That way you don't get too scared and decide you don't want to work here at all. The evaluative notes really aren't that tough, but at any rate, we're going to make sure that this visit is arrived. So here's our daily note. We're going to right click, and there's multiple ways to get into this. I'm going to show you this way right now for two different reasons. One is it's the fastest way to start. The second is I have some notes that are still open, I'm still working on right now, and I want to make sure that I do it in a way that I won't have to show the names of those other clients at the moment. So we're going to right click, we're going to go to documentation, and then flow sheet. Hopefully. Okay. So in the flow sheet, this is essentially your whole daily note. And this is one of the things I like most about this system, is that once you open this up, everything's done right on this one screen. You don't have to navigate between anything else. All your exercises and things that you're doing is on one hand of the screen. The note itself is on this side. So let's say that, sorry. Okay, objective. What I typically do here is just see flow sheet. That's going to direct you over to what we're working on the left-hand side. If you have anything else objective that you need to put in, just jot it right in these notes. Okay. Something of that nature. Okay. We'll come down to your assessment. You know how to write notes, so I don't need to go through this for you, but write your assessment, write your plan. So if you're lazy like me, go see plan of care. You may say 2 additional visits, progress 2 weeks. Okay. So you don't have to save it. It's going to intermittently save on its own. But there's some amount of time that it will let elapse before it's just going to automatically save. If you're concerned about it interrupting something in the middle of what you're doing, because that will happen. You may even see it happen in this video where I'm working on adding some numbers and then all of a sudden it's just saving and it kind of stops you from doing what you're doing in that moment. You can just come down here and save it. Takes a second, there's a little lag time, but now that everything's gray, it means that it's saved. Everything that's in here is going to stay here. If this is an easy way to go about getting these things rewritten into your next note is just write copy from previous notes. So if I copy from previous notes, this is what happens on the initial evaluation. So the thing about Practice Pro is that when you do your evaluation note, it's also going to ask you to write out a flow sheet or a daily note. A little bit confusing when you start, but because both of those things have to be tied together, you don't really have to write a daily note, right? We're already writing an evaluative note, and those two notes are tied together, so they're not going to have to stand alone. You can just write C eval, and I usually do that. I write C flow sheet, C eval, C plan of care. So once you go to your next note, this is what it'll say. If you go to your third note, then everything else I had written in that first daily note section that I just wrote before would be in there. But we just, okay, so this is what we could have for our first visit. Over here on the left-hand side of the screen, we have all of the different things that we're doing, whether it's manual therapy. In this box, you can choose to do one of two different things. You can just simply write, okay, you can write in what you've done. As soon as you write in or put any reps and sets next to something, it does then highlight it as an item that you've accomplished that day, that you've done on that day. Let's say that you want to just indicate that you did some soft tissue mobilizations that day. You just click on that button. I don't put times next to everything. You can do that if you want to. Generally, you're just going to put times next to the broader categories of the billable categories. So right now, manual therapy, and then let's come down here. So we've got therapeutic exercise. So we did 15 minutes of this case. The only thing that it's indicating we did in that therapeutic exercise group is clamshells. That's what we have directly underneath it. Okay, probably wouldn't take you 15 minutes, but let's just say that it did. Then you put 15 minutes. You've got clamshells underneath that, so that indicates that's what you're billing under therapeutic exercise. You change your reps and sets here, 3 sets of 15. Okay, when you want to add to this group, come up here to choose category, down to treatments. Say we did a quad set. Okay, let's say that we did squats. Let's say that we did some balance work, single leg. Okay, kind of doing these quickly. I shouldn't, so let me just, so I don't have, yeah, sometimes it's hard to explain this stuff on the fly. There's kind of a little bit much going on in my head in terms of what I should try to go over in this video. So right next to treatments, anything you put over here is then going to come into this big box here. When you first start, you're not going to have all of these drop downs in here of things that you've done in the past. If you've done half kneeling balance, if you did off the wall balance training, there's no treatments found. So what you have to do is add new treatment. It's going to say, where do you want it? Do you want it in this category? I do, because that's the category I had selected. This is the name of it. Save. And then the key here is that after you save it, now you have to add the treatment. And then it comes up down here. So again, if you don't have what you're searching for, if this is your exercise, add new treatment, save it, add. Those are the steps. Now it's down here. So let's look down here at the things that I added. It always just puts them at the bottom of the list, but these you might want to move. Let's say that this is a therapeutic activity. I want to move it under therapeutic activity. This is NeuroRead. This is NeuroRead. Right here, therapeutic activity. And you make sure that those billing